Welcome to Membership's Mastery, the podcast where entrepreneurs turn their expertise into income. Whether you're building a small business, scaling your online business, or chasing financial independence, this is where side hustles become recurring revenue, and passion turns into a membership site that sets you free. Let's build your legacy together. You've spent 6 months preparing to launch. Your course outline is polished. Your landing page has been rewritten 12 times. You've watched every YouTube tutorial on funnels, frameworks, and Facebook ads. And you still haven't hit publish. Here's the truth nobody's telling you. You're not still preparing because you're not ready. You're still preparing because you're terrified. I know because I was you. Staring at the publish button, convinced I needed just one more week, one more module, one more round of edits. But here's what I discovered after years of watching entrepreneurs succeed and fail. The people making money aren't the most prepared. They're the most committed. And there's a massive difference. In our time together today, you're going to learn 5 important things. 1. Why readiness is a dangerous myth that keeps talented people trapped in endless preparation cycles. 2. The 3-step framework I use to launch even when fear is screaming at me to wait. 3. The counterintuitive truth about courage that flips everything you've been taught upside down. 4. Real stories from entrepreneurs who launched too early and succeeded anyway. 5. The exact questions that will reveal whether you're genuinely preparing or just avoiding the scary part. If you've been waiting to feel confident before you launch your app, membership, course, coaching program, or any offer, and you keep moving the finish line every time you get close, this episode is your permission slip to stop waiting. Because here's what I've learned after launching dozens of programs and helping thousands of entrepreneurs do the same. Fear never disappears. It just changes form. The question isn't, how do I get rid of fear? But what will I do with fear when it shows up? Let me show you how I went from almost canceling my first launch to building a thriving business, not by eliminating fear, but by learning to move with it. And here's the dangerous myth we've all been sold. Wait until you feel ready, then launch. I believed this lie for years. I thought fear was something I'd eventually outgrow, something I could bury under enough preparation and confidence. But here's what nobody tells you about entrepreneurship. If you're building a business, launching a membership, or putting yourself out there for the first time, fear is guaranteed to knock at your door. And oddly enough, that's a good thing. I remember staring at the publish button for my very first membership. My palms were sweating. My throat was dry. I kept pacing the room, circling my desk like a nervous boxer before stepping into the ring. And here's the ironic part. The tech was fine. My landing page worked. The checkout cart was ready. The content was uploaded. Nothing was broken. What froze me wasn't technology. It was fear. The fear of failure. The fear of embarrassment. The fear of launching to silence. I imagined people laughing at how simple my offer was. I pictured potential members ignoring me completely. I felt like a fraud, like I hadn't earned the right to ask people to join me. And in that moment, I almost talked myself out of hitting publish. But as I stood there, hand hovering over the mouse, a different thought cut through the noise. What if fear wasn't a stop sign? What if it was a signal? I realized something that shifted everything. Fear shows up when something matters. I wasn't scared because I was unprepared. I was scared because this was meaningful, because I was stepping out of the safe zone of planning and into the vulnerable arena of action. Fear wasn't telling me to quit. It was telling me I was alive, awake, and standing at the edge of growth. That single realization reframed everything. After I finally launched that day, I started paying attention to how other entrepreneurs navigate fear. What I discovered was both universal and transformative. I want you to picture yourself in one of these scenarios and tell me who you most identify with. Can you identify with the destination and see yourself there? The financial advisor who spent months perfecting his investment course, paralyzed by the fear of missing crucial market scenarios. When he finally launched with his incomplete content, it sold out immediately. His authenticity became his biggest asset. Clients trusted his honest, straightforward approach over polished competitors. The life coach who kept adding modules to her signature program, terrified that it wasn't comprehensive enough. A mentor finally challenged her to launch with just the core framework. The result? Her most successful program ever, with clients raving about its focused clarity rather than overwhelming complexity. The fitness trainer who delayed his online program for months, convinced he needed professional equipment and a studio setup. He launched with iPhone videos from his garage instead. Not only did it succeed, but his authentic, real approach became his unique selling point in a market full of overproduced content. The pattern was clear. Commitment comes first. Confidence comes later. We wait for readiness like it's a bus that will arrive one day and carry us into success. But here's the myth that's keeping you trapped. No one ever feels ready. The entrepreneurs you admire didn't launch because they felt 100% confident. They launched because they were committed. Readiness is a mirage, always shimmering on the horizon, never arriving. If you keep waiting for it, you'll die waiting. Fear doesn't mean you're unprepared. Fear means you're stepping into meaningful territory. Fear doesn't vanish, but it can be managed. Over the years, I've developed a simple 3-step framework to help me launch even when fear is loud. Step 1. Name the fear, make it visible. Fear grows in the dark. Left unnamed, it becomes this huge, shadowy monster. But when you drag it into the light, it loses its power. Say it out loud. I'm afraid people won't buy. Write it down. I'm scared of wasting time. Confess it to a mentor. I'm worried I'll look foolish. Naming fear is like flipping on a light switch. Suddenly you see what you're actually dealing with. Step 2. Shrink the fear. Break it into smaller steps. Most fear is amplified by scale. Launch a membership feels terrifying, but write one email feels doable. When fear is big, shrink the project into micro steps. Don't think, I need to launch a program that will change lives. Think, I need to write a single post that invites people in. Each micro step reduces fear's grip. Step 3. Move with the fear. Action dissolves anxiety. Here's the irony. Action shrinks fear faster than planning. Fear feeds on stillness. When you move, even imperfectly, fear loses momentum. Hit publish, send the email, record the video. Your pulse will race, but once you're in motion, fear fades into the background. Courage comes before confidence, not the other way around. Confidence is the reward for walking through fear. You don't wait for confidence to appear so you can act. You act so confidence can grow. This flips everything we've been taught upside down. We think we need to feel brave to be brave. But bravery is feeling scared and moving forward anyway. Here's the metaphor I carry with me. Fear is like stage lights. When you first step onto the stage, the lights blind you. You can't see the audience. You feel exposed, overwhelmed, and ready to run. But the moment you start speaking, the lights fade into the background. They don't vanish. They're still shining, but your focus shifts. The words, the message, the connection with the audience takes center stage. Fear is the same. It feels overpowering at first, but once you start moving, it stops being the star of the show. Do I still feel fear before launches? Absolutely. Before every new product, program, or membership, the butterflies still show up. But I no longer interpret them as a warning. I interpret them as a welcome, a sign that I'm walking into meaningful territory. Fear is still there, but it no longer drives. I've learned to let it ride shotgun while I steer. When I launched my latest program last month, I felt that familiar flutter of anxiety. Instead of seeing it as a red flag, I smiled and thought, good. This means I'm about to grow. During a recent live training with hundreds of attendees, my hands shook as I adjusted my microphone. Instead of canceling, I acknowledged the nervousness and used it to connect more authentically with my audience. Fear hasn't disappeared from my entrepreneurial journey. I've just changed my relationship with it. If you've been stuck in the loop of waiting until you feel ready, I want to say this as clearly as possible. You don't need to erase fear. You don't need to wait for readiness. You only need to act while fear is present. Fear doesn't mean stop. Fear means step forward anyway. The people you're meant to serve don't need you to be perfect. They need you to be committed to helping them solve their problems. Your incomplete solution might be exactly what someone needs right now. Your imperfect program could change someone's life today. Before we wrap up, sit with these 3 questions. What launch have you been putting off because you don't feel ready yet? If you knew that fear was actually pointing toward your biggest breakthrough, what would you do this week? What's the smallest version of your big idea that you could test with just 10 people? Send me a message and let me know. I read every single response and often share additional insights. I created a free resource that is your Launch Courage Map. It walks you through exactly how to name, shrink, and move with your fear so you can launch in the next 21 days, even if you don't feel ready. If you'd like a copy, you can grab it on my site. That's it for today's installment. Tune in next time, where I'll show you the real meaning of freedom, not just time on your calendar, but the kind of freedom that opens doors for your dreams.